Scott Ian, the riff master extraordinaire and main songwriter in the band Anthrax. And he's also one of the best and most underrated rhythm guitar players in the industry. Like most of us, Scott has gone through many different rigs over the years. But for the last several years, Scott has found his home with the mighty EVH EL34 100. And I don't blame him. That amp is a total beast. And today I'm going to see how my settings on the EL34 compare to Scott's. Let's get started. Okay, so first of all, before we get started with everything, let me just say a couple of things. I had to take down the other video because there was a major mistake in the video that I will explain at the end of this video. So I decided to redo the video because I wanted you to have an accurate representation of Scott's settings and mine in a comparison video. The other thing is, I know Scott plays a 6-string guitar tuned to standard. This is a 7-string guitar and it's also tuned to standard. That said, I'm not going to be using the low B string on most of the riffs in this video anyway. So essentially I'm still playing a 6-string guitar that's tuned to standard anyways. And the whole purpose of this video isn't to show that my settings are better than Scott's or his settings are better than mine. It's just to show how differently we dial in the amplifier based on our taste and the type of music that we play, because those things really matter. So to be clear, this isn't me trying to one-up Scott Ian. Why would I even do that? The guy's an amazing guitar player. He's way better than me, and he's way more successful than me. So far be it from me to try to say I'm better than somebody like that, you know? So anyways, this is just a fun comparison just to show how two different people dial in the same exact amp and to show how flexible this amplifier is and how it can cover different genres of music and guitar players' taste in how they dial it in. And I have to say, it does it very well. And if you like this series, please give it a like, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. And as much as I would love to get one of Scott's guitars here with his pickups and get his cab here with his speakers and all that stuff, I mean, it's not possible, you know what I mean? It's just hard to hunt all that stuff down just to do a comparison video. All I'm doing is just comparing his settings to mine. And I'll also be playing his riffs and my riffs in both settings just to see how they compare, and I'll be discussing what I'm experiencing while I'm doing that. And we both dial in this amplifier very differently, and I also boost the blue channel. He does not do that. So that's going to be really interesting, and I will be showing you my settings only with the boost because that's how I play the amplifier. And the boost I will be using is the Mud Killer. So in other words, when I'm playing the amp with my settings, the Mud Killer will be on. When I'm playing it with Scott's, it will be off. And just for those who are wondering, like, why am I using a boost when I'm comparing my settings to Scott's? It's because I actually dial in the amp so that it fits well with the boost that I use. And that's just the way I dial in the amplifier, and the boost is part of the signal chain that I use when I'm playing this amplifier, especially on the blue channel. Alright, so with all that out of the way, here are my settings that I use on the blue channel of the EVH EL34 100. Alright, so I'm going to play some riffs now and show you what it sounds like and discuss what it sounds and feels like to me and why I dialed it in the way that I did. Alright, to me that just sounds ridiculous. It's very aggressive, it's really full, it's got a ton of bottom end and the right amount of top end on it as well, and some good mids. I mean, that's what I was looking for, just a really well-rounded, full-sounding, aggressive amp. You know, that's what I go for. And the overdrive pedal really helps give it that nice attack, and it tightens the amp up just a little bit more, the way I like it anyways. And it just feels really good to play. Like, it's very, very responsive to my playing. I don't have to beat the hell out of my strings to get it to do what I want it to do. And it adds in that fun factor, because let's face it, that is something that we look for, whether we know it or not. I mean, subconsciously, we're looking for that fun factor when we're playing an amp. We just want something that is fun to play. And with the boost pedal and with the blue channel dialed in the way I have it, it's extremely fun to play, very responsive, and it sounds massive and really aggressive. So that's what I go for. All right, so now here are Scott's settings on the blue channel on the EVH EL34. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and disengage the overdrive pedal. And now I'm just going to play some riffs through the amplifier with Scott's settings and see what they sound like. Well, they're a bit different than mine, that's for sure. I mean, the settings that he uses are brighter, and that makes sense because he plays thrash. He does a lot of, you know, tremolo picking and stuff like that, and he needs that articulation to come through. And I find that a lot of thrash players do that. They rely on a little bit of a brighter amp with less low end, maybe a little bit more mids, because he does have his mids a tad higher than I do. And that brightness really helps all of those types of riffs come through, you know. So I see why he does that. And again, it just comes down to your taste in sound and how you want the amp to feel and your type of music that you play. The stuff that I play, I do a lot of real heavy palm mutes, and I just want to drop bombs every time I hit one of those, where he needs something that's a little more articulate on the top end, so he can have all of those crazy fast-picking tremolo riffs that he does come through better. So I totally understand why he sets the amp up that way. He also uses a little bit less gain than I do, which isn't surprising because I'm a total gainiac. But hey, to each their own, you know, it's just the way it is. All right, so now let's see how our settings compare in one of my mixes. Alright, so final thoughts on my settings versus Scott Ian's settings. I found that with my settings, the amplifier was easier to play for me anyways, for my type of riffs and honestly what I'm used to and what I look for. And a lot of it probably has to do with me using an overdrive pedal. An overdrive pedal definitely helps tighten up the amp and make it more responsive, and I've been playing like that for years. So anytime somebody turns the pedal off, I feel like I just dropped a gear or something, you know, and I'm like, ooh, something just got harder. So you really have to dig into the amplifier a little bit more without the overdrive pedal. So I give Scott a lot of credit for doing that. And the other thing too is I'm the only guitar player in the projects that I've been in over the last couple decades, you know. So I'm looking for a bigger sound to fill up that space, you know, because again, I'm the only guy. So I want a really big, bombastic, very aggressive sound to almost make up for not having a second guitar player. But Anthrax has two guitar players, so Scott has to have his amp dialed in so that it fits in with two guitar players filling up all that space. They don't want to, you know, one-up each other with all of this really big low end and all this size of sound coming out of their cabs, because it's just going to mud everything up, because there's kick drums, bass player, singer, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on there. And if you got these guitar players that are just, everything just sounds so massive, it just kind of kills everything else. So I'm sure that that's part of why he's got the amplifier dialed in the way it does. It still felt great to play, and it was still pretty responsive, but I preferred, for my taste and my style of music, to have it set up the way that I do. But I kind of like the brightness that he has on the amplifier, because it really does add a little bit to that articulation. So maybe I'll steal that trick from him and find a happy medium between my setting and his regarding the treble. I'll put some time into that and figure it out and see what works best for me. I might just go back to my old setting. I don't know. But like I said earlier, I can definitely see why he dials it in the way he does, just for his style of music, because his style of music does require a lot of top end and clarity when it comes to all of the tremolo picking and the crazy fast little things that these guys do in their music, because there's a lot of nuance and different things that they do, where I'm more of just a, you know, just pounder, you know, I just want that freaking, those big chords and all that kind of stuff. I don't really need as much of that, you know, definition when it comes to tremolo picking and stuff, because I really don't do that. I don't do that at all in my music. So I really think that his settings are very appropriate for what he does. Now, the thing is, though, is if you listen to that full mix, you'll notice that those pinch harmonics I was doing definitely stood out a lot better with the overdrive pedal on, and I prefer that. They sounded a little weak when I did them without the overdrive pedal, so that's another reason why I use the overdrive in the way that I set up my amps, because when you set both the amplifier and the pedal up properly to work together, you get what you're looking for out of that arrangement. Now, I'm not super familiar with a lot of Anthrax's music. You know, it hasn't really been on my radar over the years, and no disrespect to them, it's just I'm more of a prog guy. And as an aside, after learning some of these riffs, I'm definitely going to dig into some more of their library because they got some killer stuff. But that said, I don't know if Scott does a lot of pinch harmonics, and if he did, and he could really pull those off, I mean, hats off to him, because man, I had to work really hard to get those things to ping the way I like them to, and it really took a lot of work for them to come out the way I wanted them to, and they still weren't really what I was looking for. So that's one of those things too. If you do a lot of pinch harmonics, you're going to want the amp and maybe a pedal set up a certain way so that stuff jumps out the way you want it to, and the amp responds the way you want it to as well. Because let's face it, I mean, the less hard we have to work to get the amp to respond to our type of playing and our riffs, the better. All right, so now let's get into the huge mistake that I made. So in the first video, I had another camera in the room. I had it set right in front of the amplifier. And when I was dialing in the amplifier for Scott's settings, I was looking at the monitor here to make sure that, you know, everything was visible. And I wasn't paying attention to where my hand was on the amplifier. I grabbed, you know, the gain knob and didn't realize I was on the red channel, not the blue channel. So I should not have been looking at the monitor. I should have been looking at the amplifier. So I made a huge mistake because all the setting changes that I made were on the red channel, not the blue channel. And I wasn't using the red channel. I was using the freaking blue channel. So the only difference really was I adjusted the correct presence knob. I adjusted the presence knob for the blue channel. At least I got that right. So it was a little bit different, but I did not adjust anything else on the blue channel as far as the tone stack goes. So the main difference was there was no overdrive pedal and the setting on the presence knob was different. Other than that, everything else was the same as how I had it. It's kind of embarrassing, but note to self, number one, look at the amplifier when you dial it in, not the monitor that's associated with the camera. Number two, don't shoot videos at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning because you're bound to make some mistakes when you're that tired. So my apologies for that, but I always want you guys to have accurate information on this channel. Otherwise, why do it, right? I mean, I never want to misrepresent anybody's gear or settings or anything like that. So out of respect for you and Scott and this amplifier and my channel, I had to redo this episode, and I'm glad I did. And also shout out to Cyber Manus, and special thanks to him for calling that out. I was sitting on the couch the other day just minding my own business, and I got a notification that there was a comment on my video, and I'm like, oh, cool, another comment, sweet, I'll read that. And Cyber Manus's comment was basically, watch what you're doing at this timestamp. You're dialing in the red channel, not the blue. And I was like, wait a minute. And I watched, and I'm like, oh my God, he's totally right. I did that. So I immediately pulled the video down and said, I got to redo this video because I felt, first of all, I felt stupid. I felt really stupid. I mean, you know, raise your hand if you've done something stupid in your life. But, and secondly, I was like really pissed because I'm like, now I got to shoot this video all over again. And those riffs are not easy to play. And I'm like, dude, I got to play all that again? So I literally just came down here today and redid the whole thing. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. And sorry about the huge screw up there. But again, thanks to Cyber Manus for calling that out. I very much appreciate that. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, especially the second time around. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the bell so that you can be notified. And if you're new to the channel, thanks. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm glad that you're here. And if you haven't subscribed, what the hell is wrong with you? Just kidding. Hit that. So please subscribe. So please subscribe and hit the bell so that. So please subscribe and hit the bell. And if you're new to the channel and you. So. And if you're new to the channel, and this is, And if you're new to the channel, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate you watching the video. Feel free to subscribe and click the bell so that you can be notified every time I either go live or come out with a new episode. And to all my Patreon supporters and subscribers, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. And I really look forward to making more videos for you in the future. Well, like I always say, I got a lot of great stuff coming up, and I can't wait to share it with you, and I will see you on the next one.